It's Susannah Sprague here with my Best Life Ever podcast, weekly podcast where I interview people I am fascinated by and I pick their brain. And, I'm really been really leaning towards a lot of entrepreneurs lately. And I really love the idea of entrepreneurs and how they find joy, specifically entrepreneurs. And it seems to be like a bit of a theme I've got with the last several guests, and the ones I have booked over the next couple of months are just powerhouse people that just had the audacity to go into business for themselves. And man, I think it takes a certain skill set and I don't know, a certain like lion's heart courage to do something like that. So I think that's the direction I'm headed. And this week's guest is like perfect for that. His name is Isaiah Warren. He has the audacity to start his own business. He actually has a business called A Leader Leads, and he's been doing it for about a year now. But I know Isaiah from the Neuromasters Academy, which if you guys remember last week's episode with Reg, he's our mentor, our teacher, our guy, our guru. But that's where I met Isaiah, and you guys will soon find out. He's going to open his mouth and talk, and you're going to be blown away by what an incredible dude this guy is. So welcome so much to my show, Isaiah. Thank you so much for taking the time out on this Monday to, just hop on with me and talk with me. And I just want to express the gratitude for joining me. So thank you. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm honored.
Yeah. You look great. You tell me about this setup you've got going on with you here. Like you've got the suit, because I don't normally see you in a suit and all dressed up. Because we're usually studying and doing all of that. Talk to me about what you got going on behind you.
So I set up my settings so I can be able to show this is all leaders lead right here. So I'll be able to let the guests know what I'm about and what my company is about. And I'm generally in the suit on a regular basis because dealing with clients now. But during class, we're in the house on Zoom. So.
Exactly. We're in the house on Zoom and we've got to blur the background because there's madness going on behind us. And man, those 14 days, right? What were your thoughts on the master's program that we just finished? What are your thoughts?
I loved it. It was an amazing experience. A complete life change. The breakthrough that we did, oh my gosh, it was amazing. And just to be able to have those tools now to be able to use to help others is priceless. And Reg is just the most amazing mentor. So it was just all around a great experience.
Truly it was all around a great experience. Yeah, absolutely. So a little background for the audience is, back in June, I did the NLP, just the bottom level NLP practitioner course with Neuromasters Academy. And that's where I met Isaiah. And then a couple months later, same academy, but we did a whole course in hypnotherapy. And then just a couple months later, we were, Zoom buddies for 14 days, doing and just leveling up, right. With becoming, master practitioners in the NLP and timeline therapy and all of that. So I feel like just this year I've seen your face so much. And I think we're different people than we were in June. Would you agree?
Most definitely. Oh yes, most definitely. I've changed completely. And even throughout the course, I was noticing my changes come even more. And I was like, oh my gosh, the growth process never ends. It's like a never ending rabbit hole. And now it's like I've elevated to another level, and seeing you and being able to be on this show, we're here now. This is amazing. This is awesome.
Yeah. If you remember at the beginning or at the very end of NLP of Practitioner, Reg was like, he's like, okay, who's never done a Facebook Live? And I was like, me. And okay. And then fast forward to now, I'm sitting here. This is just a manifestation of that audacity, that courage, that certainty, that unstoppable, thing that I don't know. It was a seed that was planted, and I see that seed in you. And I've really noticed just a very different energy coming from you, your social media, just like all of that. Can you talk to me about like, so you started your business about a year ago. Tell me about your business. One, just like little, like, what do you do? And then how has it changed since June, since you started this process?
So when I originally started the business, I was watching my changes happen in my life and I wanted to jump out there. I was just excited. I made these huge changes. And then I was like, I want to help other people. And then throughout the courses, all the tools that were coming along that we were getting, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so much that we can do to help even more people. So I started gearing my business towards people that were dealing with trauma, because I realized a lot of people are affected with trauma and how much trauma affects people's lives, especially in business, moving forward. And I noticed how much it affected my life. So I started gearing it more towards trauma and using the tools that we got to help people that were stuck in areas that wanted to move forward and just get out of that rut that I was in, my own self, and that's what my business is geared towards, like more towards entrepreneurs who have experienced trauma or even shame, that feel like they're going to take it to the grave with them. Like, no, we can get rid of this. And so my business has like really changed since then, when I started really like letting people know, like, you can actually get this removed. You don't have to live with that. And it's an amazing experience that I actually live, and to be able to share it with others, like, yes, we can get rid of this. We don't have to carry this. We don't have to take it to our grave.
Is that amazing?
It's amazing.
That is so good. And, the congruency that you have, right, with like the way your personal life is and like who you are, like who are you to come at people talking to them about trauma? Like for you, can you describe just kind of like your experiences that puts you in that unique power position to be able to even talk about trauma? Like, can you talk to me a little bit just about your background, your upbringing? I was reading your bio about you. You went to high school, or you went to college in Texas, correct? And then that got cut short. And then after that, did your life take like one of those sharp lefts? Down the scary dark road.
Yes, it was one of those things where now I know what the cause of it was, the root cause. I was making horrible decisions trying to chase money, and like college got real hard, expensive, and I started making bad decisions. And I didn't know that the root cause was things that I had dealt with in my past trauma. And I was carrying it around and placing blame on everybody else, saying that my mom my dad wasn't there, and my childhood my dad he dealt with drugs his whole life. And I was a typical statistic, like, a lot of kids in my neighborhood grew up like in carrying all this trauma. And I was using it as an excuse to make the decisions that I did. Like I was just an extremely bad decisions, and my decision making was limited. I'm like, I can't do this. Now I got a felony, and I'm like, oh man, I can't get a job. I can't do this. So when I started taking accountability on my own self, and then I started searching and I started looking at things that were coming towards me. Neuromasters Academy came towards me, meeting Reg, and I was like, oh my God, I do not have to choose that way. I can actually remove these things. I can choose a different direction. And then I watched how it impacted my life and completely changed the whole course of my life. Completely. Yeah. Like I was facing some time in prison, and behind my decisions, I was facing some real serious time. And if I didn't choose to change my life at that moment, I wouldn't be sitting right here today. And I learned, like, you know what? I can choose a different direction. I don't have to carry that. Remember, we talked about in class, T.R.E. That was like heavy for me. Like, once I could let go of T.R.E. and let go of all this stuff that I was just carrying, and all this negativity, like negative emotions that I was storing in, I was like, you know what? I do not have to go that direction. I can go this direction. So a lot of people that came up in my neighborhood or came up with my same similar background and upbringings, I want to let them same people know, like, you don't have to do that. And you don't have to accept that life. that is not something that we have to go through. You know, we can choose a different direction. And this is my results. I'm sitting here with you today. This is my results.
Amen. Look at that.
Direction.
It's you're like a lighthouse, right? You know, the lighthouse to me is such a great metaphor for people like you and I, where, you know, what's a lighthouse used for? It's used for when it's really dark or really foggy and you can't see and it's dangerous. And that lighthouse is there solid, you know, beaming its light out, and you can see, and it cuts through the darkness, and it guides you. And it's like, it's always, it's steady. It never moves. Right. So you're such a lighthouse to the people you grew up with. I'm sure there's family members, you know, there's your kids, like just people that think like, okay, I was born into a crappy family. I was born into a crappy neighborhood. I was born into like, you know, just cultural stuff, and I have no choice. And you're like, no, you've got a choice. And you're, what an example you are.
We definitely got a choice. And, you know, it's definitely a process and definitely a journey. Change can happen in an instant once we change our course, but it is a journey. You know, that's why I'm steady staying involved with Neuromasters Academy, because I don't want to look back. I'm like, I'm looking this direction. These are the changes that I have. And even seeing you, like I was watching you, I was like, you had immediate changes. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's such an inspiration. And I was like bragging about you to a lot of my friends. I was like, look, I was in class with her. Look what she's doing now. Yeah. It's just amazing to be sitting here right now.
I know. And there's just a connection. And, you know, real recognizes real. And, you know, even, you know, and you could bond over other things, you know, trauma recognizes trauma too in people, and people get trauma bonded. And I'd love for you to talk to me a little bit further into the work that you can help with, you know, the work that you do with trauma specifically. You know, there's so many ways to coach people, but I love that your position is one of power, but the fact that you're diving into the choppy waters of, I have a lot of ocean metaphors, by the way, the choppy waters of trauma, because everyone, I mean, no one escapes this whole human thing without experiencing some level of trauma. And I'd love for you to just talk to me more specifically about how, like, do you coach one-on-one? Like, how do you help people with trauma?
So what I do is I'm geared more towards entrepreneurs, and mainly because I've always had like a business sense, but I just made wrong decisions in what type of business I chose, you know? And what I learned was making the right decision, being able to think clearly, and how trauma affects that thinking process. And when we have trauma stored with negative emotions from past events, how much that can affect you making your decision in a clear way. And so what I seen was, I'm like, you know, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs, especially now in this day and time. We're birthing a whole new breed of entrepreneurs. People are learning like, hey, I can work for myself, but they're still stuck in areas. And so those are the people I really want to let them know, like, hey, we just got to clear some energy blocks here. We just got to clear a little bit of blockages that you have stored. And once you do that, those ideas and those things that you have flowing through you can flow fluidly and be able to just flow. And it'll be able to come naturally, easily, and effortlessly, you know? And I get excited off of that. I get excited once a person releases some trauma. It's like, oh my God, just watching it, it's amazing. It's a whole nother experience from my own personal experience. And it's amazing to see. And so with like entrepreneurs and upcoming entrepreneurs, or even people that want to scale their business and they may be stuck, it's all due to something it's blocking that from flowing. Yeah. Because we all have the potential to be great. We all have the potential to achieve greatness. There's nothing that can stop us. We're all unique and one of a kind, but we all have dealt with trauma. Because like you said, there's no escaping that.
Yep. And
so that's what I want to do.
Yeah. And I would imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would imagine people, you know, the entrepreneurs that you coach, I would imagine they probably come to you with a toxic relationship to money on some level, right?
Okay.
And man, when you take a step back and you're able to look at like how you relate to money itself, like what are the internal representations that come up, like what are the feelings you get in your body, or what are the things that you hear yourself say to yourself when you think about money. And a lot of it's, misguided. A lot of it's misinformation, or, maybe you made an idea or an assumption when you were younger, or I don't know, maybe somebody sold you something once and you like made a decision about sales or whatever. And I don't think a lot of people really see how their own relationship to money affects their ability to sell to others. Like it seems like a no-brainer, but man, if you can help people, undo or reevaluate their relationship to money, specifically entrepreneurs, because let's face it, like it's all about money. It's not all about money, but it's a big part of it.
And the thing is, like, when a lot of entrepreneurs that do come to me, some of them they're already making a good amount of money. But then just to get to that next level, it's either fear-based or some limiting decision where they don't feel like they can, like asking for that next amount just seems unrealistic to them, and once we remove that limiting decision from them, like we learned in class, like, oh my, the results are mind-blowing. Or once we change that internal representation of how they even view money, the results are just amazing.
Amazing.
And even just doing the whole process, a breakthrough process with an entrepreneur, just letting them know, like, hey, these are what your values are. This is why you haven't scaled here. And if you want to scale here, we can readjust these values, or here, you have a limiting decision about money right here. This is something that happened here. And just bringing that to their awareness alone is like, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
That'd be the thing. Like, a lot of people are not even aware. They're like, I want to go to the next level, but I this and this and this and this, or this and this, some limiting decision or something that is internally they have about money. But just being able to have those tools to be able to bring that to another person's awareness is beautiful.
Yeah. If you're open to sharing, do you want to share one or two of your limiting decisions that you were able to reevaluate and once you did made a difference?
Yes. Well, one big one was when I used to sell a lot of marijuana. Okay. And I want to be very transparent about that. And I was like, you know what? This is the way to make money. That's what I seen growing up. And, I'm like, this is the way to make money. This is how people make money.
Yeah.
It's easy money. I'm like, you know what? Nobody's going to hire me. Limiting decision. Taking the easy road, limiting decision. And I learned, like, keep doing that same thing. I'm like bumping my head and it's taking me down that same road. But the moment that decision was gone, I was like, I can do this and I can get money legitly. And it feels amazing. I don't got to look over my shoulder. I don't got to worry about nobody coming to take me to jail or any of that. It like, oh my God, once that limited decision was removed, and I love entrepreneurship, but I did have a strong limiting decision of I couldn't, especially with my skin color. That was huge, a huge one, because I was like, I'm a Black man. Nobody's going to hire me. Nobody hires Black people. And that's a big lie, a big lie that I was telling myself. And then when I seen it in other people of my same culture having that same limit, said, nobody will hire me because of this. Nobody hire me because I come from this. Like, no. And once you remove that, like the other side of that is beautiful. Yeah. It's beautiful. I had to take accountability for my actions, of course. I really had to be very honest about everything and removing shame, guilt, a lot of hurt and sadness that I had stored inside of me was major. So it's like, it's only natural now that I got to share this. I got to share this.
Yeah, it's your responsibility. Yeah, yes, you now have a responsibility. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
A lot of people are like, oh, you're being a life coach. I'm like, I'm doing this because I gathered this information. I got the changes in my life. I cannot just sit here and hold it, especially if I'm watching somebody else struggle. I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's not even about the money. And that was another thing about picking this career, was picking something that wasn't driven by money. It was driven by, because I watched the change happen in my life.
Yep.
And money came following behind it.
Yep. Money always comes. That is my mantra. I've been saying that for longer than probably longer than I believed it, but I've been saying money always comes. There's an abundance of money, in the world. There's no lack of money. Like there's a lot of money out there, and what's yours will come to you. And especially when you're in that alignment of doing something purposeful with certainty, with and impacting the right people in the right ways, the money can do nothing but come to you. So you almost don't even have to worry. I love that you said that, like that you don't even have to worry about the money, because the mission is on point. The mission is there, and that's it. I'm called. It's purposeful. It's what I'm doing. It's what I was here, put here to do. And the money will come. And then the money is all that much more sweeter when it is coming into your life, because you're giving so much already. So you can then receive, but you give and give. And you give in such a way that is it's the human in you. It's the humanity in you comes out. Then the money's even sweeter. It's just, it's amazing.
I was just talking to somebody about the other day, fulfillment, what makes me fulfilled. And, when you're picking a career or whatever it is that you're choosing, pick something that's going to have you fulfilled. Like your cup is going to be full and running over. So when you are giving, it doesn't feel like nobody's taking from you, and helping somebody else fills my cup up. One person, I have one person that lasts me about a month. I'm full, high off life. It don't even matter about the money. I'm just high off life. That one person, I'm like, oh, I'm watching their growth and change while their path is changing. It's full. And so when that happens, the result is I can give without question, without any question, because my cup is running over. I'm helping this person and keeps flowing. And now I have a whole new thing. Now I want to help this person. I want to help this person. I want to help this person. Keep my cup full. And it's just running over, and I'm pouring it out and giving at the same time. So it's just like a loop that I created for myself. I love it.
And it just feeds itself, right?
Yeah.
And it's just, it's never ending. And it's on, infinity there. How has this changed your relationships, or how has it changed the relationships in your life?
A lot. It's amazing, the ripple effect, how it's changed with everybody around me. Some people have definitely fell off. A lot of people I don't associate with, but naturally, I used to have the mentality of, I want to cut this person off. I want to cut this person off. I don't have to do that no more.
No.
People are either going to be attracted or not. I don't have to cut nobody off. If you're vibrating where I'm at, you're going to be here. If not, then a lot of people have fell off. But then my relationships that are still here, it seems like they are getting that same energy that I'm putting out, and they are picking it up. And I'm noticing a lot of change in other people, and it's in a natural way, And that's why with my business, leaders lead to me is leading yourself first and being a leader to yourself, so you can be able to be an example. It's not about go out and dictating everybody else. You do this, you do that. No, it's not. That's not leadership. Lead myself first. I got to take care of this first. And then I am the example. And by my example, everybody else do the same. So when I'm teaching leadership, I'm teaching not to go out and boss people around. I'm teaching, look inward, teach yourself, learn yourself, learn about you, learn what your issues are, and learn have accountability for what you have going on. And you doing that within yourself will reflect in others, and everybody else will be able to follow that lead. And they're going to do the same thing by looking inwards and keep the leadership going. That's why leaders lead. We're all going to lead by leading ourselves. Can't be a leader if you don't lead yourself.
Yep. Makes perfect sense. Who are your leaders? Who do you follow?
Well, currently, like, my main person, like, that I have direct contact with is Reg, which you know. And I follow a lot of Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, and I look up to those guys. What they preach and I've applied to my own life is very effective. But Reg is somebody who I have actual connection to, and I model myself after him a lot, because what I've seen him do and the effect that he had on my life was just amazing. I was looking at him, I'm like, here's this man is on the other side of the world. He's in a whole nother day, and I can feel his energy. And everything that he's talking about is what he lives. Yeah. So I made a decision. I was like, I want to model after him. I want to be just like how Reg is, helping others and putting out a good vibration energy, like, for change. And I can take that same information, because his value is way more like just an abundance of value. I can take that same information and take it back and help others. Yeah. And he's guiding me along the way. And it's just like even more amazing.
Yeah. Well, the value, right? That's the word value. There's a couple words that are like the theme of this year for me. It's certainty, unstoppable, and value. Those three words are what I've got, the ones that like have just stuck to me since we started at the Academy. And value is, I don't know if it's focused on enough. Maybe I didn't notice it enough, but the way that Reg describes value and the importance of it and how to give value. And then when you think you've given enough, give some more. And what a different energy that is to come from, as far as being a coach, to give value. Oh yeah. Okay. But then when you think you've given enough value, give some more. And that is something that they live and breathe, that the Academy lives and breathes, and Reg lives and breathes. I just feel like I've gotten so much more than whatever I've paid for. Would you agree?
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. And that's even like how I do with my clients. When I think about pricing, I'm thinking, oh, this is the price, but I'm about to give you so much more. I can't use the word guarantee, but I'm like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to put my all and I'm going to pour everything I have into giving you the value that you need. It's like I said, it doesn't even matter about the money. I charge for my services, but it's not about the money. I want to get value. And that's what I see Reg doing. Like, he's all about value. I can message Reg, and I know he's a busy man, and he'll respond. He'll get back to me and guide me through. And that's why, like I said earlier, like, I like to model after him. I'm very, very particular about that, because learning, like, be careful who you're watching or who you're following, because, some people are not leading themselves correctly.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. You want people who are just actually walking the walk, that they're out there. I do believe that Joe Dispenza and Tony Robbins are, it feels really authentic, but there are definitely lots of people in this field, in the field of teaching, in the field of, even in the field of NLP. Since the Academy, I've gone online and I've checked out other schools or other people. You watch some YouTube videos and I'm like, what? Maybe I'm just really spoiled, but watching some people's YouTube videos explaining NLP technique.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy, helps blood sugar regulation, superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.
Of mentors or teachers to a minimum, like quality over quantity. And it is a watching how someone runs their business and lives their life and what's their personal life look like. You know, if you're Tony Robbins and you have 6 ex-wives, I'm going to wonder, like, are you living all this out in, you know, all these areas of your life? And if you're not, it's okay. You're human, but it just makes me step back and go, okay, is that somebody I want to, you know, invest money, time, and energy into? And do I want to follow someone like that? You know, and I really believe in Reg and his whole, like, it seems, and now he is in another country on the other side of the world in a totally different day than us, but it seems from where I sit that it's all congruent. It all matches and it all lines up. And it's like, okay, yeah, I could follow someone like that. I could subscribe and I could model myself after someone like that, and really keeping the number of, you know, mentors to a minimum, because probably more than one would be good, but I wouldn't say more than 3, you know, between 1 and 3 mentors is probably, you know, because if you pick a good one, they're going to fill up your head with a bunch of stuff. There's not enough room, you know, in there for 5 different teachers from all, you know, different angles. So,
and I've worked with some other mentors before, but the way they were modeling their lives just wasn't right in the direction that I was going in. And they had a lot of different teachings. They brought a lot of good value, but like you said, it's just how they live their lives. Yeah. What I wanted to model after. And I'm like, you know, Reg came from a background where he didn't just start out knowing everything. He got into it and went through the process. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? And I love the way how he is with his wife and his kids, how he views on energy. I'm like, he's the master of energy. Energy flows through him. I'm like, yes, that's me right there. I want that.
That is you. It is you though. But you're just you've got all the pieces, right? You've got all the ingredients for the recipe. You just, I think, probably just needed a guide. You know, you needed your own lighthouse, right? And with some step-by-step, here's what you do. And then you've got all the makings, you know, I mean, you can't teach personality, and Isaiah, you have a lot of personality. So you're right. You're in the perfect space for all the things that you've got naturally. And then everything you learned, like everything you've gained, but you came to the table with your own skills and your own personality. And man, you can't teach personality. That's just, you know, charisma is you either got it or you don't, you know, so you're putting your talents to use in such a great way. So I want to ask you about just a little personal life. Like, how many kids do you have?
So I have 4 girls, and hands are full. And I've also have 2 adopted that I have from the mother of my kids. She has 2 other children by somebody, but I take them as my own. So really, we're a whole household of 6.
Whew. 6 is so. What's the age range between all 6?
So oldest is at 8, all the way down to 2.
Oof. So 2 to 8 at 6. Yeah. So how do you make time?
That's one of the things one of the things I learned through Reg, you know, like using the mantra, like time runs through me. I'm the master of time. I started adopting that within the last class, and I have time. I'm like fully present with my kids more than ever. Yeah. And I'm even watching my kids, even their energy change towards me. Because before it was like, I'm like always rushing. I'm like, I felt like I had to make time, always trying to make time. Like, I'm always busy. I'm busy. But it was all in here. I was only busy in my head, you know, not really being actually productive. when you get actually productive and really blocking out your times for the day and really utilizing your time, you have all the time. 24 hours is a lot of time in a day, you know? And once you realize that, like removing that limiting decision, like, oh, you know, actually I do have time. So I make plenty time for my kids. Like even just now, right before we started this session, my kids were just here like right 5 minutes before. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm about to do a podcast. I was showing them the whole setup. We're all excited, you know, and that was all part of our whole experience of even doing this, so they can see what that is doing. And they can see me changing my life, and me being an example, you know, and that is amazing. Even showing them this, like even having them involved. Like I'm watching them, like even they're waking up saying, I can do this. I am this. I'm great. And I'm like, yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
And they're modeling after me. And even before I started my journey, I was noticing my kids was modeling after me. And they were running around with a lot of anger and a lot of just like picked up just stress. And I'm like, oh my God. And how am I trying to talk them out of a situation? But I was doing it the other way. You know, I'm like, something's not adding up. It ain't working. And I was on the verge, I was going to end up losing my whole family behind just making a bad decision. I was glad I was able to find Neuromath. It just seemed like it fell out the sky, just scrolling on Facebook. And I was like, oh, this is it. Then I talked to Jenny, and she got on the phone, and I was just explaining to her, I was like, you know what? I'm just looking for some help. I'm trying to change my life. This seems like perfect. And it was, in the months going to the class, the value just poured over. And then doing hypnotherapy, it just poured over even more. And then masters like just took my brain to the next level. Yeah. You know, and now I'm like, I really am living proof. Like we can change our whole mind and watch our lives completely change in front of us. Yeah. And your kids are so much better because of it. And they don't even know it yet, but they will, you know. And mine's older. Mine's already, you know, mine's 17. He's like almost an adult, you know. He's basically an adult in a 17-year-old's body. But even my ability to like communicate with him and listen to him and also meet him where he's at and understand his, you know, level of consciousness, understand his map of the world, like all of those concepts that we've learned, you know, in class, like to be able to apply that to parenting and to really just be present with who they are, not who you want them to be, but who they are. And the enriched experience that comes as a result of that, I'm really, really grateful for. Just, you know, I don't, it is priceless. My God, it's priceless. It is. Even my relationships with just friends. Like I had a friend that we had a fell out because me making bad decisions. I lost a really, really good friend. And through the course of my journey and through the course of me taking these classes, he is now actually a client of mine. Oh, look at that. The tables turned completely around by me changing my life. Like, and now just on December 7th, he invited me to come speak at one of his events. Wow. I'm just like, this, like really doing the transformation within our own head, removing all these blockages that we have, like it really can deep change everything around you. And I was losing everything, like family, friends, just everybody was just dissipating from me. And now my best friend, he's my best friend. He's my client now, and he's invited me to come speak. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is awesome. And this is the life. I was like, this is the life I want to live. I don't want to be in a life where I'm living in like darkness and hurt, and pain, and just like blame and everybody. Like that's painful. It hurts. Yeah. It felt like hell. Yeah. Yeah. Blaming others for anything. Right. I talked with Reg a little bit. He described what, you know, being at cause and being at effect. And, you know, in sometimes as humans, sometimes our default is to like, maybe go, oh, you know, they cut me off. You know, I don't know, whatever. It could be something that small. You know, someone cut me off on the freeway and it's easy because they
they physically did cut in front of your car to blame someone else, and I use that example on the freeway, but man, the default can be to blame others. It is easier. It's like, it doesn't feel as bad, it's their fault, whoever, and a lot of it can be justified. Like the I'm angry, or I'm resentful, or I'm sad, or whatever. And you feel justified to place it on someone else, but it's such a disempowered position. There's no power in that position. There's no choice in there. You're just a victim to the world. And there's no, like, not even just responsibility. It's no power. It takes the wind out of your sails. And that just means you're subject to whatever life throws at you, and good luck, where there's no choice there.
Yeah, that is definitely not a place that I like to be in. It was like literally taking my life from me. And I had to make a decision. I really had to make a solid decision. Like, hey, you're going to go to jail, or you're either going to be dead, or you can just start taking accountability. Or you can start looking inwards and start being grateful for the things you do have. Stop looking at others. Start looking at yourself. Start being the leader of your life. Stop following everybody else. That doesn't matter. You don't have to be like that, especially with social media nowadays, thinking that you got to have all this material stuff. Like, no.
Yeah.
Not have it. Life is not like that.
No. And, the material stuff can come, but the material stuff can go. You can lose it all in the blink of an eye, and we know you can't take any of it with you. The only value that material things has is what we say it has. But the things that really have value in someone's life are things that are intangible, that you can't hold in your hand. Their feelings, it's respect, it's self-esteem, love, those kinds of things that are, there's no price. You can't put a price on it. So the value is immense. It's limitless value. And social media is such it's a wonderful thing, but it can be such a cesspool of very small-minded, selfish, people who live at effect anyway. So it's kind of like, who am I comparing myself to anyway? Really.
Exactly.
What are they like behind their page? Who knows? Because it's all deceitful and filters and mirrors, and it's like it's not real anyway. So I really love your message, and that's why I wanted to have you on, just so people can see that I'm not the only one that did, that's done incredible things since the academy. I'm not an anomaly. So many incredible students have come out of there, and you're one of them. And I just adore you and what you're all about. And, I just love how you've decided to show up for yourself. And every time we were, on Zoom in class, you're just 100% there, no matter. I can only imagine what it's like having 6 children. I have 1/6 of your energy in your house. And to make that work, you've got to pull the resources from somewhere really deep. And that just says a lot about you and your character. And like when you put your mind to something. And so it's really exciting for me to have you on here and just to showcase you and what you're about, and, and to promote what you've got, because absolutely, I think that you've got something really special here with A Leader Leads. It's such a great mission. I totally support it.
Yes. I am really grateful to be here, sitting across the screen with you doing this is like mind blowing. Like, wow, look at us.
Yeah. I know.
Awesome.
I know.
Awesome.
So what are some of your big dreams with A Leader Leads? What are some big things you want to do?
So right now I'm more focused on just taking it one step at a time, mm-hmm. and just dealing with one person at a time. It's very fulfilling doing that within itself. As far as like future wise, I definitely want to be helping more of the youth and really sharing this information with a lot more people in my culture because I feel like this information is withheld from our culture. So like I really, really like want to like specify that because like a lot of things just coming from the neighborhood that I came from, like seems so much like that, just that environment is devastating to see. And if they knew what I knew, that it takes just a quick, like, hey, you can let go of that limiting decision, let go of that trauma, let it go so you can have a life that you want and have a life that is fulfilled, you know, where we don't have to have, it doesn't have to be full of crime and destruction and none of that. Like, that's just, that whole concept of thinking is just ridiculous. But in that environment, that's all a lot of people think that they can have. That's all they think that is there. Like, that's it. That's all they see. And I understand it because I came from it. So that is where I want to give this information towards. It's like, I know this is what helped them, you know, and it's more, like I said, it's not really necessarily about the money to me more so because I get my cup full just by helping somebody. It's full, like pouring over.
Yeah.
So I got a lot to pour out and give. The investment that I made at the Neuromance Academy has paid off 10 times more, and it's going to keep paying off.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I definitely want to like just not like to be the Martin Luther King, but I just want to share this information
Absolutely
more towards my community. It's amazing.
To as many people as possible. And then in the two groups, the entrepreneurs and the youth, imagine the shift you can create in an entrepreneur, what they could do and what kind of incredible services or ideas can come out of someone who's not bogged down by, you know, fear and sadness and guilt and shame and all that. And they're just open and they can just go and create the coolest shit on the planet, right? Because that's what entrepreneurs do, coming up with ideas and products and services and all of that. So who knows what that ripple effect. And then also the youth that you are, you know, talking to at probably a really pivotal point in their lives, a really like, you know, that young, tender age, the ripple effect you can have with that. I have a client who shared with me after we did some sessions on releasing fear, sadness, hurt, guilt, shame, all of that. What he was then able to do, just something he was already doing. He was speaking to new art school students, I think they were, and they were young, like 18, 19, freshmen, you know, brand new. And I don't know, the subject of confidence came up, and he was able to just share from a very different place because of the work that we had done. And he was like, man, just think of like the people that I'm affecting. So, you know, the people that you're affecting are just directly around you. And then the people that they affect, and that they affect, and that they affect. And so, you know, I really think the kids and dealing with youth, maybe youth that are in, you know, challenging environments, man, and you change one, you never know who that one can then go change. So, who are you going to do? Where are you going to speak at? What's your friend's speaking engagement that he's had you come do? What is that?
It's called Powerful Hour. It's in Houston, Texas. It's on December 7th. And
Nice.
it's for entrepreneurs. And I'm going to be speaking about leadership and, you know, how to remove limiting decisions and the power in removing limiting decisions and negative emotions, and how it can really take their business or their career to the next level. So it's an amazing opportunity. And I'm just really grateful just to even be a part of it. I get 15 minutes on stage, and it's going to be an awesome opportunity just to even pass on more of this knowledge that we got.
Yeah.
Really
Well, you know what though? They're going to be lucky to have you too. You are you'll be among peers, right? This is not, you know, somehow they're higher than you or anything like that. These are peers. So you show up like, I'm with my peers. then it's a very different place. Thank you. It's a very different vibration, right? You show up to something like that completely confident and certain in what you're talking about, and just the audacity to say yes to something like that is like, ooh, it's that's audacity. That's wow, and you'll be among peers, and they're lucky to have you.
Yeah, it's one of another opportunity just to share my experiences and with somebody else who may have had the same experience or any struggles, that all the tools that we have, like those, if they're struggling with that, I got some tools for you. Just look here, you can do this. You can apply this, and they're life-changing. They literally are.
I could see you doing like a speaking tour around the country, just with all kinds of audiences. I can see it. You've got it. The world needs to hear what you have to say, and I see you talking in front of a lot of people. And I hope that happens sooner rather than later. I mean, December 7th is right around the corner. And that's probably just the beginning, because somebody else is going to hear you there and go, oh, I've got this other event in Chicago, or I don't know, wherever. And I could absolutely see you doing that. Have you ever thought about writing a book?
Yeah, so I actually did. I did a book. It was a Leaders Lead book, and I've been putting it together. I just haven't put it out. I wasn't feeling all the way confident with it, but now, like, even after finishing Master, I was like, you know what, I'm about to finish this up, touch it up, and I can put this out. But definitely a book is coming.
Good. Good. Well, when it's out and you've got it ready and it's been published, maybe I can have you back on and you can promote it and talk about it. And, I'm so happy to promote whatever you've got going on. It's, the world needs more of that. And, whatever I can do to help you just let me know. Cause you gotta get you in front of people. You gotta get you in people's ears. I think what you have to say and how you can help is massive. And, so, we're coming up on the end of our hour, and I just want to ask you, like, what are some things? I know that helping others, really fills your cup, but is there anything else you do for you that like soothes you, that brings you joy, that kind of just, what are some of the self-care things that you do to remain so balanced and so centered and happy?
I just learned to use like the power of just being comfortable with myself, and just like, I'm very active, jujitsu, being in the gym, using those tools like to use for my energy that I have boiling inside of me, but like just learning to sit with myself, meditation, people call it, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I just learning to do that keeps me balanced. I had to meditate right before I came on this. 10 minutes with myself, get myself nice, centered, and balanced, or I'm not, because I'm a very excited person. So I was like, I don't want to be like Reg said, you don't want to be too high, you don't want to be too low. I want to be right there in the middle. So that's why I'm trying to keep myself right there. And it takes practice. That's a daily practice. Yep. I have to force myself. Yep. It's like, sit down, Isaiah. And I'm like, why is it so hard to give myself 10 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I know. You do have to make it has to be, an effort. I actually restarted my meditation practice just recently. I was doing it every day for a while, and then like life happens, and then you lose 10 minutes. I'm like, where am I going to find 10 minutes? I have found 10 minutes, and I do it before I even get out of bed, because I know this about myself, is that once I get going, it's like there's no pumping the brakes. So if I can catch myself before I get going, then I'm set. I'm solid. So I recently restarted, and I do it before I even get out of bed. It's it's the only way to fit in my meditation, which, is also kind of silly. It's like 10 minutes.
We have to force ourselves to do it. Like, be the parent of ourselves. Like, get up, go sit with yourself. And then once you do it, it's like, that's why I meditate.
I know. The payoff is so good. And the payoff is, the reward of sitting there silently for 10 minutes is massive. And it's like, I don't know why, but it's like, oh, I have to, figure out how to do this. And it's like, what? The reward is so good. Awesome. So can you tell people where they can find you?
So you can find me at leadersleadprogram.com and on Instagram, A Leaders Lead, and Facebook at Isaiah Warren. I'm also on LinkedIn at Isaiah Warren. You can find me there. I run a trauma relief program for entrepreneurs that anybody who's looking to get some help and get it out of their own way and removing some negative emotions or any past stored trauma, I can help get rid of it and through all the tools that I have. And yes.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I started the show with a gratitude and I end the show with gratitude. Thank you so much, Isaiah, for carving out an hour. I know you're busy and you got kids and you got like all this stuff going on, and you gave me an hour of your day. And I really appreciate that. It's been wonderful having you. I love talking to you. I love your message, and anything I can do to support you, I'm there. And, really just thank you for being, a guest on this show.
Glutathione is a big word. It's the body's own master antioxidant. It's a scavenger for free radical, bacteria, and viruses. There are no products in the market with the ingredient NASET. NASET increases the production of glutathione that's in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system, elevate sense of well-being, support muscle strength and endurance, cognitive function, and liver support. It helps with increased energy and blood sugar regulation. Get your bottle of GSH Plus from www.salvationnutra.com.